Uh, Hi everyone, welcome back to my series of interviews. Today my special guest is Xandra Graviet. She's a medium, Reiki master, a Muneki shaman, and she's also the author of Angel in Disguise. You can get the book on Amazon. It's a very interesting book. Just type in the name Angel in Disguise and type in her name, Xandra, and you will find the book. So Xandra, welcome to my show.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, before we start, today's topic is really about fate and destiny. But before we get into the topic, I'd like you to just share a bit about yourself and your journey, and a little about what you do.
Okay, so my journey of awakening, I guess I'll call it, began when my daughter was hit by a car about 20, it's going on 23 years this year. And she was in a coma and she passed away. And from that, it was a huge awakening, which happens with a lot of people. They get layers of breaking the routines and the changes, and I'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about fate and destiny. But so at that point, when I was broken into a million pieces inside, and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I got to get help. And I tried to go to regular therapy, and for me, it was like, this isn't helping. So I started non traditional things such as rapid eye therapy, Reiki, and other healing modalities, prana healing, breath work, a bunch of different things in order for me to heal. And before my daughter had passed, I had started looking into automatic writing, and I knew that I had this gift of automatic writing. And I would practice it, and she would encourage me to. She loved it. So when she passed away, another thing that I did was I sat down and I started using my automatic writing with her. I channeled with her the book Angel in Disguise. And I would ask questions, and then this higher version of how it was showed up for me. And I understand that more now than ever, because when we change our stories, when we see a higher perspective of our version of reality, of what's going on, and we take ourselves out of it, then we can heal from it. And that's how I wrote my book and how I began to heal through many other things. So, and then at the same time, though, I'm also learning that was a medium and a channel, because many people started coming to me and asking me to channel their loved ones. And I understood that I had this special gift because of my connection to my daughter, the way we are connected to our children, right? We have an energetic bond. And so I knew that I had that in, but then people kept coming to me and asking me to do readings for them, and I was like, okay, I was still in kind of a state of shock because I'd been in grief, only a year. But I thought, well, if this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to do it. So I started healing, through readings. And then I also became a Reiki master at this time for my own healing, and because I would be working with people and it helped me. And then, so I did that, and that was when the first gifts came in. And then I also went through a horrible divorce, so I moved out of state, and I wasn't doing my spiritual as much as I would have liked to be. I wasn't, healing people or doing the work, but I did a little bit, and I started a group where I would have retreats for people. It was called the LFO Experience, and we'd bring healers in, and we would do it in a group form and heal people all day long. And I did this because I had a dream about it. I had a dream, and I was told in the dream I saw myself, I was in these cabins in the woods, but a big cabin, like, you know, and I was told in the dream, you need to do this, program and this retreats now. That's not what you're going to be doing. You're not going to be doing them yet, but in the future you'll be doing it. But for now, you got to do it just for this time being. So I did a few of them then, but I right after I had the dream, I called one of my friends, on the phone and told her about the dream, and she said, give me 5 minutes. And so she made a call, yes, and she called me back, and she said, I have the perfect cabin for you, the perfect place to hold your retreat. So I did my initial retreats, I think it was 2014, and in this beautiful house in Mount Charleston here. The house from other spiritual events, Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, was all of a sudden showed up on the window from all the spiritual healing that had been done in this house. So it was an amazing gift. But then, it wasn't time yet, I suppose, to do what I was supposed to be doing. So I, was in a relationship and all of this, and wasn't as connected as I should have been, because, you sometimes get caught up. And so I wasn't doing my spiritual path, but then I started doing my path, and I was, in constant healing and meditation. I was really into it. And then, of course, my relationship blew up, because, he wasn't doing what I was doing, didn't have the same beliefs I had. So that all fell apart, and then the divine stepped in, is what I should say. Sometimes you wonder when divine steps in, but the divine stepped in, and everything in my life changed. And I ended up 2 weeks later, after the breakup and after my mom passed away, she had died right around this time, I ended up going to Argentina, Bolivia, and Peru. And I ended up going and working with some shaman who gave me the Munakai rights. And this was 3 years ago. And since then, I've been doing, my work and spiritual work, doing the readings and healings and stuff like this. But just recently, I realized it was time to start doing the retreats, the LFO retreats again, and do the healing. And so part of what our discussion today is about fate and destiny, how they are different. It all ties into where I'm at right now. And this is, I get a lot of channeling and a lot of information, and I do a lot of writing from, you can see in my book, and then I do other writing because I worked on a couple screenplays that were channeled to me. But most recently, I did have a dream, and they channeled down a whole new one. And it is about healing and a bunch of different things in it, so I'm working on that too right now. But I'm doing the retreats, the LFO experience retreats coming up. I just finished one in Sedona. I will be doing one in Zion, Utah in August. In September, I will be doing one in Alaska. And in October, I will be doing one in Poconos Mountains in Pennsylvania. So that's where I'm at, and that's who I am, and the work I'm doing. If someone were to come to the retreat, they would receive tools of the shaman, and they will receive Munakai rights, amongst other journeying and healings that go on there. And they stay. It's a 3-night, 4-day workshops, if you want to call it a workshop. I like to call it experience because it is really experiential. You get a lot of healing, a lot of growth, and you learn a lot. So that's that. I think that's a pretty good description.
Yeah, that was in depth. Yeah, so yeah, it really explains why you do what you do and everything. So you've given us part of your journeys so far. So we'll go straight into the topic. Um, what's the difference between fate and destiny? What are they, and what's the major difference? Because they're similar in a way, but they're not the same thing.
Well, everyone considers them the same thing because to a lot of people, they would be the same thing, right? Their destiny ends up being their fate. But fate is fatal in this way. Our fate stalks us our entire life, and it stalks us from our family karma, our ancestors' karma. It stalks us with disease. It stalks us with the belief systems and the patterns. It stalks us because it flows through us, and that is part of the matrix, right? Our belief systems and who our family has always been, that kind of thing. Destiny is when you start breaking free of your family's patterns, your addictions, and your illnesses even. And we change those in order to break free and create our destiny. And our destiny is more connected to our purpose and our passion. Okay, it's that soul contract we had before we came. And it's not just doing the ordinary routines. When people stay in the routines, they are staying in a form of a matrix. Okay, it may be their family matrix, it may be their country's matrix. And so, really, when someone can break free of any of these things that stalk them because of history, karmic DNA and all sorts of history, that's when they start running into destiny. And different things will come in and take us to destiny. And that kind of in my description of what happened to me, that happened a few times. Okay. An event can come in and it takes you, and it is your choice, of course, to choose destiny or to still, let this event leave you creating in the same old belief system. Say, my example would be when my daughter died. Okay, I could have done, my choice would be I could have stayed in this, just went and got the support of the belief systems of religions that I had around me and stayed in the same situation and repeated those patterns. But instead, I said, I can't do this. I won't make it. And so that's when I started my breaking out and into the unknown and maybe the unordinary, because I had to step out and do some different kind of healing, which broke me from, the old way of being in my family patterns, right? And so then, later things come up and more things come up. It's like a total, for me, because some people break out earlier, okay? They break out of the family patterns. People who've had huge success and, come from poverty or something have broke into what their true purpose and passion is, which would be their destiny. Okay, fate would be, my daughter died and that pattern kept going, or sexual abuse in a family and that pattern repeats itself, and that's fate following, stalking you. Does this make sense? If you have any questions, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ramble, but ask me questions if there was anything on that needs to be clear.
Okay, yeah. So everybody has a fate, but not everyone's destiny is fixed or something, right?
Well, that's a good point. There is destiny for all souls when they, but the fate is automatic, okay? And that's why it's fatal. It like follows you, stalks you, and if you don't break fate, then you create fate. But if you break out, and everyone has this purpose and this passion within them, but many people don't ever express it. Their true authentic gifts, right? I mean, people want to, but they get caught up in, whatever patterns they've got going on in their family life or in their culture, maybe. But so everyone does have this, a purpose. They do. And what we do, and why is it so important? I kind of wanted to explain the thing about destiny, okay, too. I'm going to go off a little bit here on this. But so on destiny, people awaken their soul, basically, and your soul's purpose, right? What is that? If you've ever had that longing, which I did my whole life, like, what is my calling? I know there's something I'm supposed to do, and you want to see it's this easy thing, it's supposed to be a rock star. I'm just joking, but I'm saying there's things like that people have, right? But I've always called in purpose because I felt it too. I felt that soul connection, right? To something bigger than the patterns that have been my family history. But what starts happening to you is when you are getting into awakening the soul, the first step that people start to notice is they start to notice synchronicities. Okay, numbers, signs here, they get involved in, and that's good because they are awakening if they're listening to the signs, because our soul and spirit is calling us to pay attention. But it goes deeper, later on in our lives when, for example, when we're not on our path, there's a process we can do is we can call in our purpose and our passion and, destiny of the light. So what I did was I was writing a screenplay at the time, and I thought, this isn't exactly what I need to be doing. I felt that. Yes, it was important to write it, but there was a reason I felt like I was off track from my purpose, right? So I started calling in and saying, I choose my purpose and why, why I'm here, what I'm supposed to do here. And I choose it from the light. I make sure to say that for me, because it was important to me. And that's when also I had the whole ending of my relationship and ended up getting the rights of the Munukai, because it's a soul calling. Your purpose is more the soul calling you towards your destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fate is just all that, garbage we carry from the karma of the past of our ancestors and, our family and even our own karma. And sometimes in this work, to get back following your destiny, you need to call it in. This is part of the Munukai work, is calling in. But we, in the Munukai work, we also are calling in, first off, the highest and best destiny for the planet. And we call that in and install it in each of us, so that, that's what more people can be installing the greatest results of humanity, right? Installing the greatest, for all humanity, not just for ourselves, because we don't start with ourselves. We start outside with humanity, and then we bring it closer to our communities, and then we bring it to us. But we call it in. We do this as part of the practice in the Munukai. But you call in your destiny, because we have a destiny, but a lot of people don't really choose it and break and and go towards it for whatever reason. But we're in this great quantum leap of consciousness, and then at this time, more and more people are awakening and will be calling in their purpose. And what we've just gone through here with the virus and whatever happened, everybody was forced to go within, maybe within their houses, but within a lot. And in doing so, more people started to awaken to a deeper purpose from within. And that was connected more to their soul. As hard as difficult this whole thing was, it was like the before Christ and after Christ. It's before the virus and after the virus, because we all changed. And we changed in a way that for those who are choosing destiny, they've maybe got a new way to get there.
Okay.
And so that's kind of, does that explain it? If you have more questions, go ahead, because I kind of
Yeah,
went
yeah, it
on.
does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does explain it. There's a pattern I'm seeing in your explanations. So I have a question there. Does it take some kind of tragedy or some kind of pain for people to break out of the path of faith and start journeying towards their destiny? You mentioned about the coronavirus. That's a pandemic. You mentioned about your daughter dying. That was what caused your awakening. And I had to lose a lot. I lost my job and found my place in a very horrible, found myself in a very horrible place before I decided to surrender. And
Yeah.
yeah, and awaken. So, and you've had clients that you've healed, you've healed, and you're healing. Um, is there a pattern to it? Does everyone have to be awakened by trauma or something?
Well, sadly, through awakening, it usually takes somebody to stop and take a look at something, right? They don't usually, if everything's going perfect, they're making all the money, their life's good, they're happy, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to pay attention. Even if they're not on the purpose, they could be on a power trip and, an ego trip, but are they really going to awaken to the deeper truths of their soul? Okay. The deeper truths of your soul usually come in when you're uncomfortable. You don't grow usually until you are uncomfortable, right? So
Okay.
sadly, I mean, but everyone has trauma, right? And part of this is, once you understand, how do we also, this is the next level of this discussion, is how do we, when we understand that maybe we don't have our passion, our purpose, and we're not aligned, and we don't want to go the hard way, right? So how do we start working towards that? So maybe you don't have to go through tragedy. Well, first it comes a calling, and usually a calling comes, maybe you're meditating a lot. Meditating helps bring it in also, okay? So you're meditating a lot, and I don't know if you've been in the void. Have you been in the void where
No.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So you're meditating a lot and you've let go of the past, right? And you have got rid of fate. Not maybe not all of it, but you've gotten rid of a good share of fate in your life. Okay. Then there's a process that's called the void. And it's like it's the true unknown because we don't see the future and we're not connected to the past. We're not connected to either one. We're in that in between place. And people will go through what is called the void, and that's when you start planting your seeds. When you're in that emptiness, because now there's all this room. Once you've started cleaning out your past, your traumas, and this kind of stuff, you are in the void. There's all this energy to start creating something new. But everybody wants to go from from fate to destiny, but there is a middle part, and it's not. It's kind of a painful place to be for a minute because it is the unknown, and seems dark. Some people might call that the dark night of the soul, also because you're in the middle of this void and you're trying to understand your purpose. So to move towards destiny, meditation might take you to that, but you can also start really looking within and looking at maybe your hero's journey, looking back at your life, and there may have been several signs along the path, right? Like, I guess I'll just use my own example. Okay, so like all of a sudden before my daughter died, I was drawn to the automatic writing, right? And I just knew I could do it, and I was like, okay. And I understood these messages would come to me, but on I go with my life, and then my daughter passes away, and I am desperate, and that showed me a step, that I could use to heal myself, and so I started using that to heal and wrote the book. And then later on, it's the same thing. Something comes in, and this is another one, and this is a big one for me right now. So this one just came up. And because it's not like you get A to Z. I'm completely there. No, it's unraveling and a healing along the way. And then when you discover that passion and purpose, then for me anyway, this is my thing. I do the best I can with the knowledge I have, but then more awareness still comes in. We are still human. More light comes coming in. We're learning all the time if we choose to be. But so here's a pattern that my mom died 2 weeks, like I said, before I broke up with my boyfriend. But just when I did my retreat, I had known for a while that I didn't want to become my mom because my mom, I mean, I love my mom. That's not the issue. But my mom just stayed in this pattern and she never changed, right? And she died with Alzheimer's, which, and she didn't break out. She never used her purpose, or she never strived to find what that purpose or soul contract was. She just kind of, once she got a certain age, she sat there and she did nothing. And that's always haunted me, but when she died, it became more haunting because I didn't want to become her. And she was bitter with men cheating. My father was a cheater and that kind of thing. And that started coming into me. This is a pattern, for me, that I have a choice right now to become her or to break that. And that's when I went to Argentina. But also what I'm doing now on these retreats, my mother kind of became a little bit of a shut-in, you know what I mean? And so when the pandemic came for me, I was still going through this, and I've had to break myself and follow the pattern, follow the destiny. And it's just like, I followed, okay, so divine timing comes in and takes you on some of these things when you're working with the light, right? And so it's just like my mom dies 2 weeks later, I break up with my boyfriend, 2 weeks later, I'm in Argentina getting these energies, right? And that's
Yeah.
divine timing. And that's when you start following the flow, and that's and it leads you closer to your soul's purpose, you know
Okay. Okay. So
Does that get
I'm
you?
seeing a paradox here. So you can know your destiny, but you still have to work towards it.
You can know your destiny.
Yeah, I'm asking, like, can you know your destiny? Can you find out what your destiny is?
I think you can have a good idea of, you know, with your different signs. Like for me, channeling and being a medium and writer was, you know what I'm saying? You can
Hmm.
know and you're moving towards it, but you may grow and learn more and, and gain an even greater purpose as you work your path. As you're out there, you allow yourself to expand into the destiny.
Yeah, so it's about finding your purpose, basically, or clarifying what your purpose is in life.
Um, yeah, or calling in your purpose. You don't have to, and sometimes, like in the work that we do with the Munukai, is we also have people, they call in their destiny, but they call in because everyone has tons of things out in front of them, futures, on we work on the timeline, okay? Because in the timeline, when we go forward into the future, when you are working towards you want your highest and best destiny, so we call that from the future back to us, because you could have, there's many different destinies we can choose, some because of the way we think and what we're creating. But when we're trying to choose what our soul purpose, we're wanting to choose that we really is the highest and best destiny, which is really what, with this ascension and what's happening on the planet and us raising our consciousness, more people have to choose that higher consciousness. And this is for the good of the planet and all humanity and all life on the planet.
Yeah. So okay. There's something else I wanted to explain. That's the divine timing. Uh,
Okay.
how does it work? What is it? Where does it come from? Is it another force, another energy that's helping us, or showing us the
Yes.
way? Where does it come from?
So divine timing is when you do surrender and you do connect to the universal force, this of spirit, or we can say of spirit. When you're aligned with spirit, then the signs become evident and your soul answers, like the call. So that's divine timing comes in, and this is right. It's like when I got the call to go, it's like it's deep within you. Yes, I'm supposed to be there. It was for me to be in Argentina. And that happens. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book. I love this, and it's one of my first spiritual books I ever read. It's The Celestine Prophecy. And in this book, have you ever read it?
No.
So in the Celestine Prophecy, it's all about this. And this, I read this like 25 years ago. And when I read that, it's like when I opened it, the magic began. I started understanding. Like, it is about the synchronicities, but it's about when you start surrendering and you let spirit guide you and show you. Okay, so spirit will, you know, pull you towards your destiny when you're surrendering and you're not, you know, the biggest problem people have is they want things to turn out the way they want a certain outcome. Okay, that's ego. Okay, I need to be a famous rock star, I need to be a famous writer, whatever it is, and they have that in their head. That's the ego pulling it, right? But when you say, okay, I surrender, spirit, you show me the way. And some people, spirit, universe, God, however it is that you want to perceive it. But then you start going with the flow of, and quit worrying about outcome. You go into the great unknown on the journey, and you allow yourself to be guided to your next step without expectations also. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah, you
we
keep
all,
bringing up new things there. Yeah. Letting go of expectations. That's a very big deal. A lot of people talk about it, but it's not very clear how to go about it.
well, it
Yeah.
happens to you. Okay, so let me explain. I mean, we no, you have to, because I have clients all the time that call me and is this the true love of my life? Or let's say that's an example, and because it's a true example, and what I say to them now, I used to, try and get deep into it until I realized I was giving them, they want expectations here, even from me. If I'm reading for you and I'm telling you, yes, he's the perfect guy for you, then you expect him to be the perfect guy for you, and maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. But the truth is when you're in flow, there should be no attachment and no expectation, because the experience itself, if you're listening to your soul, you're flowing with it. Maybe you're just to meet this person because they're to give you $10,000. Okay, great, thank you. You got to just go with the flow of the experiences. And there's another law that's pretty difficult on this, but the law of attachment and detachment. That's one I never wanted to have. And yet I got to have it. Like, because you're always like, yeah, I'm detached, being detached from outcome, right? But also detached from things. And a lot of times when you're being redirected, or divine timing comes in and divine redirection comes in, you may be at the wrong job, with the wrong person, living in the wrong house. And so maybe you have to let go of everything you thought was going to happen for you, okay, and really detach from it and let it go. And that's the only way that you can be free enough to do the work that you're supposed to do, like for me. So I was, in this relationship that kept me stuck in a lot of ways, because it was a person who was wanted me to serve them, which I'd never been in a relationship like that, but it was also a lesson from family, the way my mom was with my father. So it was important when the divine came in and said, this doesn't work for you, but you're going to let go of the house, the relationship, and even your job, and you're going to get redirected. And it's been uncomfortable for a while. But then on the other hand, now my new situation, I have freedom to do the retreats, freedom to work on that is really my purpose. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We
yeah, very
have
well.
to,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're
So the
saying we
detach
like what I'm getting from it is that we have to be in tune with our spirit to know when something is divine timing.
or at least recognize it at some point, right? When usually somebody in the middle of it, you're not going, oh, this is the highest and best good I got going on. You're like, oh, my life's falling apart. And you have to go through a releasing, and you have to really go through an internal shift and not be angry at everything you lost, but be grateful that you were taken and out of that situation that was going to stop you from completing your true destiny and living your true path and your highest and best path. You have to forgive and go through maybe some real letting go of everything you thought and believed about a situation. We have to do this many different ways, through religions and politics and blah, many things in our lives. But when it happens on this kind of physical level, it's a tower moment that, you know, shakes you to your core, because you are completely working in the unknown. You don't know what you're going to do next, but you learn. It's like the void, bigger void, I guess. But you figure it out. And at that point, when everything's empty and you don't know where to turn, and then the divine comes in and says, no, this is your call, follow that. You got to have the courage even to get on that airplane and go, which I did, and went to South America by myself and met a friend there, after going through my mother dying and all of this. But you have to listen to the call and believe so deeply, that you're answering it, that you do it. And that's divine timing, because the divine will show up. And obviously, that's a big divine timing, because everything crumbled there. And I think that there are smaller divine timings, but we all have that. If we're trying to live through our soul and connect to our destinies, we are guided.
Okay, yeah. Then I have a lot of people following me, that want to change the course of their lives, or that have been struggling with this too. So, what advice do you have for them? What can you do for them if they come to you? Yeah.
Okay. So if they are feeling lost, the first thing is they got to go and get centered. They've got to really start going within and connecting to spirit. And that's through, I would start to tell them first off, hopefully they're meditating, and really getting clear, because we have to get, it's like the body, mind, and soul, they have to be aligned, right? So, how do we do that? First, we have to declutter our mind. Okay, we have to start getting rid of the toxic stuff in our mind, our toxic thinking, our toxic beliefs. So I do different shamanic healings, but there's different processes of letting go of your trauma. To let go of your past. There's a lot of different things that I do in my retreats on this, but this is something that people have to start working on: is healing of their past. When you're healing of your own toxicity, and you're cleaning up your energy body, you're not only healing you, but you're healing your ancestors, and you're working with karma. Okay, so that's like a number one step, to start calling it in. So the retreats go through all of this together. Actually, they're very powerful. I mean, we had, you know, at the last retreat, we had a couple people purging, vomiting, purging, from the healings, like ayahuasca. And I had one lady there who is a nurse, and she had done ayahuasca a couple times, and she said, I never have to do it again, because the purging that comes when we begin to heal our trauma. So we do different shamanic journeying, healings and things like this with them, if you were going to come to me and go to a retreat. But you learn these tools for yourself and to help others, and to start calling in your purpose and your path. Some of this stuff is going to happen. It can only happen, so much at a time. But people who come to my retreats will feel the soul calling, because that's how it is this is a soul calling. When you're at that level, you'll show up because your soul has said, I got to be there, and it. And that everyone that came to mine told me that, the first one that I just did here. And it's true, because well, you want people that because when they receive so much information and so much healing all at once, they probably have done a little healing before, because it's a lot, but it's like it's heavenly also. You kind of, it's so powerful, but it is a lot, so I think for somebody who's just starting out, I would recommend that they start with, just get on that track of meditation and getting really clear. Because I love Steve Noble. I don't know. I think he's from the UK. Do you know Steve Noble?
Steve.
Steve Noble.
Yeah, I think I heard of him.
He's amazing. And some of his work, his meditations are, that's really, they're healing. They're like a small healing on you. And you start working on something like that, and you notice the difference, because you have to start breaking old patterns some way that gets you ready. I mean, if you've never done any work spiritually. Now, if people have done work spiritually, they may be called anyway after seeing this video, because there is a lot of people that will be called, and they know it's right for them, because it is the work. But it's the work for me. The reason, and there's a great deal of people on the planet at this time who believe they are here to be here at this time for this quantum leap of consciousness, and which is raising the planet to a higher vibration. We can call it ascension. So there's many people that are ready for this, because we came here to ascend this planet to a higher vibration. And from, I've studied this stuff for 30 years, and what I understand is, this understanding that I've gained now is the highest understanding of it all. But I've always had this thought that, why are we not praying for humanity? Why are we not gathering together, and I wanted something greater. But with this work, it's like we pull in from the future and install in each one of us that higher and best future for this planet. You know, it's like the movie. Have you seen the movie Avatar?
Yes.
How the beings are. Okay. So, because part of the shaman's belief and the ancient medicine men is that we are creating a new human, and that new human replicates the those souls in the avatar, in the sense that how they care about the planet and the earth and each other, and it's everything is sustainable. It's not like it is now, where all we've had for thousands of years is greed and power and violence, but as we shift to the new human, which would be like the beings in Avatar that care about all sustainability, but also that the planet is taken care of and loved, you know, bec- and as a Munukai shaman, we are stewards of the earth. And we believe, those people who have this calling, that is a concern for them and all humanity. It's not about, how can I get myself out there and be the most wonderful thing on earth? It's more about how can I make this planet? How can I care about, life and humanity with love and, where we work together to keep this the beautiful place that it is.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, you shared so much today. I really
I can
appreciate
just
that.
go up.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now we're running out of time now, so
Okay.
I don't know. Are there any last words? Because where can people find you? And you know,
Okay.
where are you? Do you have
So
websites or something?
I do have a website. For some reason, I just added my retreats, and it should be coming up by tomorrow because it still says coming soon. It said 72 hours. It'll be back online. But I have xandrathemedium.com, and that's where you can, get a private reading with me or book a retreat if you chose, anything like that. And then you can watch me on YouTube at Xandra the Medium. And you can also watch me on Facebook, Xandra the Medium page. So that's where you can reach me now. So any last words? I don't know. I guess just come join me if you believe you are called into this beautiful work. Because it is, if your soul feels called to that higher calling of love and humanity and all of life and the earth, then reach out, share with us your stories and your journey and how we can work together. And, and also if you choose to come to one of the LFO experience retreats, I think you'll meet some amazing people, as I have. So that's about it for today. So hopefully
Yeah,
you
thanks.
enjoyed it.
So you've heard from her. So if you're really looking to find your calling, your purpose, to heal, to awaken, Xandra is the person to go to. So I
Okay.
recommend you get in contact with her. I'll post her links down in the comments. And yeah, Xandra, thanks for showing up. Thanks for the beautiful words.
Well,
And
thank
hope
you.
to have you here once again sometime in the future.
All right. Sounds wonderful. Thanks for having me. You have a
All
great
right.
day.